Okay, well, I am done painting all the painting I'm going to do on this, but what we're going to do is I'm going to use just a couple of washes. They are Vallejo Black Wash, so that I'm going to use on this back quilt looking thing. Then everything else is going to get not everything else, but the lighter color, the tan, I'm going to do a brown wash on, which is also Vallejo. And these seats, I'm also going to do a brown wash on. Except for around the headrest, I'm going to use some Tamiya panel liner to go around there just to give it a nice clean crisp edge. So now I've got my little palette over here. I'm going to put a couple of 3 drops in there because the stuff will separate after time. Now I also have one brush for water because I want this to flow. Now I've already top coated this with a dull coat. Now most people use a clear top coat before they do weathering, but that's usually because there's going to be some the washes and whatnot act different. But I kind of want it to get in there and kind of sit, because I want it to change the tone as well as. Now, let me see how this is going to work. I did a couple of test pieces, but yeah, see, that's a lot. But I put that water down, so now I should be able to just move it around as I want. And it's also going to hide any mistakes I made around the. I'm trying to keep this on camera, but let's see. Now I got my paper towel here, so I'm getting some of the excess off. Now this will lighten up quite a bit as it dries. Now most of this you're not going to see. The chair is going to be sitting here, but what I am concerned about is this edge, which seems to not have very much. There we go. Just trying to even it out. Okay. Alright. Now then, let me clean my brush a little bit. Just so I don't want it to be quite that strong. I'm okay with it. Like I said, you're really not going to see. About right there is all you're going to see. And now a dry brush. I'm drying a brush on a paper towel I have sitting over here. There we go. Now hopefully it dries, all it's going to do is kind of bring out that quilting line just a little bit and change the shade. I mean, this stuff dries really fast. So, I don't like how it's pulled down there, but it's not up here. So now I'm going to have to come back in here and get a little bit more back on here. Now I have also dried my brush back off. That's what I'm doing. I'm constantly drying it off so that I can move it around. And I'm not worried about here because the seat pretty much fills up this whole area in here. So I just want it even. So I'm hoping when it dries, the chair goes all the way up the back, I believe. Now, if I really didn't like it, I did use Tester's lacquer top coat. So if I really didn't like this, I'll go in here with some thinner and take it all back off. But I'm kind of okay with it. So a little bit more water just to keep it there. We go. Now I feel better. Alright. Alright, so now it looks like a nice dirty, and it's a little darker too. Alright. Okay. Now I guess we got to see what that looks like after she dries. I'm going to get another little speckle on here just to get it back in those grooves there. Okay. Alright. I can live with that. I can live with that. Still popping more than it was with just that background on it. Everything pulled down in the bottom, but I'm not worried about that because there's going to be a chair sitting here that's going to cover up most of that. Okay. All right. I'm happy with that. All right. Next. Now we're going to try some brown on. I mean, I should probably. It'd probably be all right to use the black on there, but that light down here, I want to put some on here just to try to bring out some of the detail. I'm going to repeat the process. I've got a brush that I'm using just for water. So I'm going to start with water. Now this stuff you got to really shake up. I've got a bead in here, a glass bead. Some of them have before I learned about glass beads, I had little metal ball bearings to help use as an agitator. But then I saw his channel is Orc Painted Nerd. I saw him use, he's recommended glass beads. And glass beads are way, way cheaper than 1/4 inch ball bearings. Now granted, you can get a whole lot of movement out of a ball bearing. Well, I'm gonna have to add some more water because I got a dirty one that's all black and I need quite a bit of water. Okay, so let me get some water. Lather this up with some water. Lather this up with some water. Put some water up here. Okay, now one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to ruin it, and I'm going to take some thinner to it, or it does what I hope, and it brings out some of the coloration in the lines, but yeah, now I like the effect I'm getting in the seat. Can't see it at all in the seat belt, so, or in that dark color. So bring out a little highlights and add some shading. Alright, now repeat process. Don't want to forget my water, because that definitely makes it flow a little better. And since I did it on the other seat, I'm going to have to do it on this seat just to make sure that I'm doing everything uniform. Don't want to skip a step. So, here we go.
Daddy?
What?
He's upstairs.
Huh?
He's upstairs.
Why?
I don't know. Go upstairs. Go upstairs and see Daddy.
Okay. And there's that one. So, I'm going to come back to you in a second. Because right now, I need to clean off my brush, do a little drying, go back to this one. Yeah, see, and all that did was add a little highlights to everything. Can't really see it much on that, but it is, I'm going for a subtle effect anyway. So there we go. I like that. It came out quite nice. I'm happy with that. Now I got a little bit here. I'm just going to use the same brush. Dab a little water on here. A little water on here. A little water on here. Okay. Now hopefully this doesn't mess up this too bad. Okay. Now I'm touching this light. Okay. Yeah, see? It actually did bring out some of that.
I just want two set of wheels. Just two set of wheels. Not another
Okay.
pair of
Right.
set of another two wheels.
And there we go. all it did was bring out those highlights a little bit. I'm happy with that.
It doesn't need to go
That is exactly the effect I was looking for.
spot.
So, okay. Okay. And there we go. Just gave everything a little dirty look. So, that's alright. Now then, well, I need to go back over this chair. Okay, but still. Just to get the pulls, so I don't want it to have the tide marks like it was trying to get. There's that. Now that one's nice. I'm happy with the way that came out. I'm going to just put some of that brown on there just to give those seat belts a little bit of character. Okay. And there we go. Now, all I need to do is let that dry for a couple hours, and I'm going to start dry brushing. I'm going to dry brush some white. Well, I might. Yeah, you're never going to see any of that. But I am going to dry brush those buttons. I'm going to try to hit those with the white. All the dashboard and edges I'm going to hit with a little white and get some of these buttons going. Alright. Well, today I'm putting the last details on the cockpit. So, I've got that initial piece here painted gray to match the color of the aircraft. And now I'm going to just put a little bit of this wash down in there so that I can be done with it. I mean, I'm probably going to have to paint some more after it gets all put together, because there's going to be a seam line running right down the center, and there's probably not going to be a complete flush, gap-free, no line between this part and whatever's behind it or around it. So it's going to get painted again, but at least I don't have to do this step, because once it gets in the aircraft it'll be a whole lot more difficult to do this. This shouldn't take me but a moment. And I'm doing it now because I'm about to also get rid of that by gluing it in. Once it gets glued in, that means it won't sit on its top end anymore. It's going to have to, well, once I get this on, because in the next few days I plan on putting that cockpit completely together, nose and all. So, alright, let's see if I can do this without having to use two pans. Alright, there's that. Yeah, I don't know. Alright. Now let's see what we can get. There we go. And that's all I'm going to do to it. Well, yeah, I suspect when that dries for a little while, leave that like that, hopefully we'll be okay. Alright, now then, after that, well, I got the wash out. I think I'm just going to grunge up this a little bit, just so it's not bright all white in there. Okay. Now then, I guess I'll let that sit kind of like that. Right there. That looks good. Okay. Done. Now, in the process of putting wings on and everything's drying, I've got, well, getting down to the mostly assembly before the big paint with the actual, these are just the wing tips. That's all I've got left. But I am waiting, I clamp those down just to make sure they got, I had to do some re-gluing there because the corners didn't quite get like I wanted to. So, but I did that time. So, don't need these. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't need to throw them around. Bam. Alright. Okay, so, here we go. Next is the tips. I should have cleaned up that side. See, that one I worked on a little bit. That one I did not. So that's gonna, that, I might throw some putty on that before I do anything. just to make my life easier, I might use some the green squadron putty that I know works with acetone. So, and it's a smoother putty, so I can probably glue that on and with a rubber glove or something, pull taut, maybe dip it in and smooth it out pretty good around that seam there if I'm careful. So, alright, well, that's it for the painting so far until we get to the big bulky painting. Okay, so I've got some pieces painted, but now I need to get the missiles masked out. So, let me move this guy. I've got the cockpit, well, I've got the nose of the airplane put together anyway. So, next, I've got to attach this to the fuselage, but there's no rush there because I've got to get some other stuff painted. This is also some pieces that go on after the fact when everything's done. So, let me get my missiles masked up. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to get some Tamiya paint, because now they're supposed to stay gray a little bit behind the fins according to the instructions and the box art. So I did not get a big enough piece of tape. So what I'm going to do to try to keep it nice and even is I'm basically just going to cut this in half, and that'll be the, I'll just cut the strips as I need them. So now I need to find a little ruler, preferably metal, and I cannot remember what size tape this is, so we will do a quick measure. Alright, so apparently this is, I'm going to guess, 6mm. So we'll put a little mark at 3. Yep, it's 6mm. So we're going to go up here, and I'm going to put at 1, 2, 3. Well, that's not right. One, two, three. Alright, so that should be about halfway. Measure this up. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now let me find my X-Acto blade. Because also I need to get the canopy done, which is something I'm not looking forward to. So basically I'm going to cut this in half, and I should have 2 3mm sized 3mm wide pieces of tape. Okay, and they should be about the same distance. No bigger than that is, I'm just gonna, but I need 4 of them, so I'm gonna just, there we go, and hopefully that does it. Now comes the tricky part of trying to get it on there. So let's get you up. So I can grab you with some tweezers. Alright, so, well, at least now I know all my sizes are going to be about right. I'll come up here. And then, voila. Okay. So, now that that's done, I'll repeat the process for 4 more, and hopefully that looks good. It looks good from here. Now that's masked off. I'm just going to put some clear plastic wrap over the other side, and what's left over here I'm going to trim up to about half again, and that'll be what I use to hold the clear wrap down, and that'll keep the tip of this missile gray, and then I have to go over it with white from there down. So let me get to that. Well, okay, so I guess now's the moment of truth to see how much touching up I need to do, since it was a very awkward shape getting it around the head of this missile, because it was all, the only piece I had to attach was one of the fins, or 2 of the fins I think. So trying to be careful not to break anything. So this one's looking pretty good so far. I can hope. I can hope. Alright, so you're being real futzy today. Alright. Not monkeying with it. Okay, hopefully I didn't scratch the paint. Don't worry, I think I'm going to do the rest of these off camera, because this is pretty aggravating right here. I know some of them I changed my technique up. Okay. Like I said, I don't want to bend them, I don't want to break the fins. Okay. I'm guessing if I can get plastic off of here. Ooh. I don't want to bend up the fins that are already up there. I think this is one I folded over. I don't think I did the other ones like that. So, I'll put that down. I'll do that off camera. Let me see here. So, now I think I've got probably 3 coats of white, and I used lacquer white, because the lacquer white's just tougher and it seems to go on a little better than my Vallejo white. I that I usually used to use. But lacquer paints are pretty tough, so I'm not worried about scratching or damaging the paint as much as I would, say, if it was painted in the Vallejo color. Okay, so I got that piece off. See, it's a little, well, I don't know. I think it came out pretty good. So now we will gently peel this off, since the gray is Vallejo. And voila, one very straight line around the nose of that missile. So that's going to work out pretty good. Alright, I'll bang the rest of these out and okay. So now I've done a little bit of detail painting on these guys here. Just the pieces I added in the little tail. It'll never show up. You might be able to see a little bit of the color on there. A little metallic. I just put some steel, just like the rest of the hangers on there. But now, unfortunately, it is time to tackle this beast. Maybe, just maybe, you guys can see it. But there is a giant line that is running down that canopy. So this is where it gets tricky, because the only way I can get rid of it is I've got to scrape it off very carefully. So that's what I'll be doing for the next hour. Is scraping off a window thing. And I don't know what happened here, but it looks like I might have gotten something on it, or I may have gone a little too low. So I don't know, but I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix all this up where the canopy looks nice and good. But for now, I've got to do some scraping. Okay, now I don't know if it shows up or not, but it is kind of scarred up right where I've been shaving it down, right in there. But it looks kind of bad right now, but now I'm going to try a little bit of sanding here. I got an extra fine there's that one. I'm just wondering if maybe I should start with a slightly coarser grit, because it breaks my heart to be doing this. But I can't have a big old seam line running down my canopy. So now that's good and roughed up, let me see if I can polish it up. Okay, yeah, it's starting to look better already. Starting to look better already. Okay. Haha, yeah. I'm happy with that. First time I've ever had to do this. And it's starting to look better already. Okay. Now for the polishing side. Well, it's looking a lot better, but I can already tell I'm going to have to do it again. But I don't know if that shows up. Whoa, let's drop it. Good thing I don't have anything painted up here. But I don't know if it shows up. Let's see how the front half is starting to look a lot better. So, I'll keep on it. And eventually we'll get this thing good enough so I can dip it in some Pledge 2x Shine floor wax. And it'll take out all the other little scuffs and scratches that I can't get, and it'll make it look super clear. That's what I'm going for. But now I got to get back to sanding and scraping and sanding and buffing and polishing. So I think I got it as good as I can get it with the sanding and polishing stick that I have. So now it is time to try some of this stuff. I have fine scratch remover, and I've got the step 1 too. I got all 3 steps, but give it a good shake. Now I'm gonna put a dab on this here. Well, maybe not. Oh wow, that's thick and gooey. I can't get it to come out. Excuse me. Alright, let's see if a Q-tip. Oh, that did it. Now it'll come out of there. Oh, alright, so I've got a dabble of that. Now, alright. Basically, this is a polish, so I think I may have put too much on for what I want to do. So I need to find another corner of this so I can work it in like so. It's kind of like sandpaper, only it's a little finer. But I really am only trying to get this top part where I've been sanding and buffing, because I don't know, maybe I need break out one of my new sanding sticks. But this is what some guys use on their car models to get it really shiny, get that showroom finish on their kits. So I'm going to see if it does any good getting out those scratches, because it looks like all it's doing is scuffing it up a little bit. So I may have started with too high up on the list when I probably should have gone with the stage 1. But, because now it's all frosted and just using a clean part to get it off. I don't know. It looks pretty good. I'm impressed. All right. It does look a little better. So now, I guess I need to try this next level, which has a spray bottle, so I don't know about this, but it's made for plastic. So, let's spray this on here and give her a rub. Alright. Okay. So, and there we go. There's still a few more big old scratches in there. I didn't quite get the top like I wanted it. So, I think I'm going to have to use some more of that other one to get it as shiny and as clear as I would like it. Even though I might be wrong and the pledge will take it off, but there we go. So we went from having a line to now it's just a little scuffed, which is way better than what it was because now the line's gone. So that's awesome. Yay! Won't be long, I'll be able to mount this, mask it up, and get the rest of the kit painted, because that's all I'm waiting on right now is this. I gotta get this done, and I'd start some of the final assembly to get it done. So I'll keep buffing away. Well, sanding, smoothing, just trying to get everything even. Got the cockpit, got the nose on. Now it's just a matter of got me a little bit of green putty on the nose there to fill a hole, lots of sanding. Now something else I'm not really good at, but I tried, was re-scribing some of the lines. Now I saw a trick. So this is a dynamo tape. I don't know what it's for, I guess for imprinting, like stamping labels on, raised labels. So it's thick. It's about a, half a millimeter, 3/4 of a millimeter thick. So I put it up on the edge wherever I had a line, and then I took my trumpeter scribing tool, which is basically, I guess you can go either way with it, but it's got the hook on the tip there, and that's a sharp hook. It's sharpened to a point. You just kind of drag it where you want it, and that's how you do the line. Now, it's not perfect, but it's better than no lines at all. So, or where lines fade out. Now, I'm going to mask the cockpit out because there's a couple of lines, like I need to all around the cockpit, right where the glass meets the fuselage. There's a small line that goes all the way around the bottom. Then there's supposed to be a line leading up to this on both sides of this gray piece. A small line, they're probably about, I don't know, 3 millimeters thick. Same goes for right here. There's another line that goes right above here. So I'm going to have to mask all that out. I have already masked out the what I had to mask out on the bottom, such as things like the where I painted the wheel wells and the landing gear and the metallic paint that I had on the inside of the intakes. So I got all that masked up. All that's left now is masking up that cockpit, which is gonna be a beast. So let's get on that. Okay, so now we're getting down to where we are almost ready to throw some primer and paint onto this beast. And this is where it's going to start getting tricky. So I was going to leave them off, but then being so big, I'm going to glue these pieces on now. I've already primed and painted these two pieces along with the external tank and sidewinder pylon. Now this is going to stay off because I've still got to clear coat the missiles after I applied those decals that I did the other day. So then I'm going to have to get some thinner and a sharp point Tamiya Q-tip or cotton bud, and I'll clean the attachment points and use some Plastron bonding to glue them on, and they'll be done, and I won't have to worry about that until it comes time to attach. But I've got a big enough space where I've already cleaned the paint and primer off of that, so that'll be fairly easy. That'll glue on, and then all I will have to do is make sure they line up right, and once I figure out where they line up right, I can go by with some sanding paper, just some folded up, really rough grit sandpaper, and I will just hit around the holes and in between the holes, just a fine line, just enough to give my glue plastic to grab onto and weld together. So, like with this, they've been sanded underneath, they've already been test fitted, so now I just got to glue these on. And then I also have, now nothing attaches to these except these painted steel parts. Now on the other side I'll do the same thing. I'll just take a little sandpaper, clean off around these, clean off the attachment points on the back, even though these were painted, taped down, so the back is still relatively free of paint and primer. So then once I get it all glued and all painted up, that's when I'll attach this so I don't have to mess with gluing it on there. Well, actually it's these pieces that are going to glue into there. So I will have to clean some paint off of that side and around the holes. But for right now, I've just got to get these weapons pylons attached. Now they're already test fitted, and I'm just going to let the glue do its thing. And if I tear up the paint, I'm not worried about it since I've got to paint the whole thing again anyway. And like I said, I was going to add this separately, but I changed my mind just because that's a long strip to have to clear off. And that's a whole lot of, there's 3 holes, so it took me a little bit of monkeying to get it to fit on there. But I didn't want to take any chances of messing up the paint after I get it all done, because as soon as I'm done painting, I would like, after it's dry anyway, I would like to go ahead and get started on the weathering process that I'm going to have to do. Now I am trying to go on the inside of this. I mean, the capillary reaction of the glue should help me out. But I'm starting at one end and working my way forward so that I can get a good seal. Now, the glue might show up as a wet spot or a faded spot, but it's smooth, so it's not going to leave globs. So after I get the paint on there, you'll never see it. Okay. Now we just hold that down for a few seconds and that'll be permanently attached. So now I've got to do that side, and then I have to do all of these that ride on the side here. Now these are going to be tricky because I'm going to have to really monkey with these. I'm probably going to end up having to hold it there like so and then touch it with the glue and maintain the hold so that it stays in that position, because they're at a funny angle, because I'm guessing these are for bombs. I'm not sure which bombs would go there, but the F-15 Strike Eagle E is a ground attack aircraft. I mean, it's completely and fully capable of defending itself in the air, of course, since it's an F-15. That is what they were primarily designed for. Right now I'm just checking to make sure there's no gaps, because, I mean, not that you'll see it, but the better it's attached, the less I have to worry about it coming off, or once the paint gets on there, I don't want it to really, because paint will show up any gap. Any gap anywhere will really show up just awful. So even with that little bit of this glue, because it is a plastic solvent cement. So basically what it does is it melts the plastic together. So even if that little gap there that I just glued, and when I release, if it does pull up a little bit, it's taking plastic with it. So for really small gaps, it works really well as a filler as well, but it's only in the tiniest of gaps. So now I got to do the other side. Then we start on attaching all of these, and shortly I will be ready to slap some paint on this, but I also have to do some teeny tiny pieces that I was waiting for the absolute last minute before I threw paint on, because in all the handling of the model I didn't want to, I mean, some of these pieces are really tiny, like you can't even see them, but right there they are. They're attached to the end of that runner there, so I got to attach those two and the pitot tubes, and once I get all that done I can throw a coat of, well, I've also got to mask off the back. I've got to get the hook on. I don't know, I guess this is a tie down hook because it's not it's not an aircraft carrier plane, so it's not a trapping hook, but it's probably just a tie down hook, or they lower it just so they can tie it down in windy areas. So I've got to get that out and cleaned up and attached down here. Now I'm not worried about this because all I'm masking out, and then I will mask out the metal. These have already been painted with a dark aluminum. I guess it's supposed to be titanium is what the look I was going for. Now they will match and line up with the bottoms of this, and then I blended the color down with steel on, there's a steel here, dark aluminum here, but I made sure to go up with the, to about right there. I made sure, well, it was all kind of covered with the dark aluminum. Then I started at the top and on the inside with steel, and I left the down end bottom gloss black. I may go over that with, I don't know, I like it with a little bit of shine because it's so dark in there you can actually see in there, but I might go over the inside, all of the inside of the model with a dull coat, a matte finish. So now this gets glued on there, and I'm only going to mask out the actual ribbing part, so that's going to be the regular color of the body, but I'm going to mask this out, and that'll stay masked right up until final assembly, which will be, I put the landing gear on, drop these in, model's done. So, let me continue to glue. Okay, well, I'm waiting for paint to dry, or primer to dry anyway. Well, right now I'm actually waiting for some. Let me back it up. I have already primed the rest of everything, except there was a couple of seams and a couple of gaps I didn't like, so I had to take care of them. So sanded, put some putty on, waiting for the putty to dry, then I'll give it another light sanding, and then it's back to the spray booth. But meanwhile, while I'm waiting, since I've just got to wait, I've still got a couple of more things to do that can get done, that don't need to wait. Alright, now I could probably use the enamel spirits or the lacquer thinner I have over there. Now lacquer thinner's tough. Lacquer thinner will take this nub off if I'm not careful. And I probably could use some, these are Vallejo paints, so I could use Vallejo thinner and probably get the paint off. But I know from experience with this kit that this Dollar Tree acetone nail polish remover right here will take the paint right off pretty quick. So now I have some Tamiya cotton buds, or cotton swabs. Now these are Walmart pointed cotton swabs for like makeup and stuff. Also, these are relatively cheap. These are not. These are like $5 for a relatively small pack, especially seeing as how you go through them so fast. And I've got some regular good old-fashioned Q-tips. So I have poured in my acetone here, and I am going to start with this because I have to clean off where the plastic's going to go. So I might not even start with this. I think I'm going to start with this and just kind of go with it and try to carefully just take the paint off of where I want to take the paint off of. See how that's just kind of pulling it right off of there. Now I do want the paint all gone off of here if I can possibly make that happen. So just very gently and carefully, because now I think this will also eat the plastic up too if I'm not careful. So I'm just going to clean this up. And there we go. Now I've taken it down to where I can see the light gray underneath. I just want to make sure that it's the light gray of the plastic, because I may have only just gone down to the primer, which is a very light gray. So what I'm going to do to make sure I got enough of it, because I want to use my Plastruct on it, which is basically like Tamiya thin, but that is looking like it is matching this part up here. So I think we're golden. So I got one side done. Now I'm going to do the rest of them, because I have the other pylon and they both have two. So I'm going to continue to do that, and then I'm going to stick these Then what I also need to do, and this is why I got the little ones, the little Tamiya ones. Now this is going to prove to be a little bit more difficult since these have been clear coated. So there's an extra, let me see, 2 layers, because I put the clear coat on first. Yeah, see, I didn't even touch it. Didn't even put a dent in that hole there. So basically all I did was take off, that clear coat, I'm just going to have to do this. But I need that to have no paint somewhere in there. Okay, so now you're never going to see this, so I don't need to be as, I mean, see, like right there, that's where my decals don't meet up. But I want to get the paint off, and it's tough. I mean, the Pledge floor wax with the 2-time shine, it's relatively tough, especially when you get a couple of coats on there. But here we go. This is what we're going to do, and I'm going to do this for the other 3 missiles. And I'm going to continue to rub off there we go. See? Now I've got 2 nice gray holes. I don't even know if that's showing up in there or not, but now I have 2 gray holes that I can glue to, and they'll be a nice secure bond. Because on the F-15 I did, which is basically the first kit that I jumped back into for doing models after, you know, having been a kid, it basically, I use super glue, and super glue is just real brittle, but it's a lot nicer on the paint, and it's clear, and you couldn't see it. So now I just got to get the blue tack off of there, because unfortunately that is just on the paint, because that is how but it came off well enough. So 1 rocket down, 1/2 of a pylon done, and when this is done, I'm probably going to finish sanding and get to painting. So well, now that I've got everything prepared to glue, as I was scraping these missiles, I was thinking to myself, wow, that is the toughest Vallejo paint I've ever done. And then I remembered, oh yeah, that's why the chemicals weren't working on it when I poked the cotton swab in there. This is lacquer paint. This is my attempt at the lacquer paint. So that's where I ran into the problem, because it was actually pretty tough to scrape out of there. So now then comes the fun part, or the tricky part, is trying to get these attached properly. And it's kind of mid-morning, so the 2 cups of coffee I chugged this morning are still keeping me a little jittery. Okay, now then, for the critical part, okay, she appears to be on there with ever so slight bleeding of the paint. Okay, so I will let that side rest for a moment longer, and I will do the other side, and then I'll get it all attached, and I'll put it in my box on the paper towel to stay safe until it's time to attach it underneath the wings.